In the event of a fire alarm, it'll tell you exactly where the location is, or give you a description of, as well as a unique address, with that being a number. I'll give you an example shortly. Eventually, when we get it up and running, you'll have a monitoring panel here that will tell the fire alarm or fire department directly. They'll phone out, so you have that 24-hour protection.
Yeah.
In the event of a fire alarm, so it'll tell you where it's going to be. You can acknowledge to stop the panel from beeping. The horns are going to be going. If you determine it is not a threat, like someone's burning toast in the kitchen and a smoke goes off, or someone's pulling a crank, whatever it is, and you know it's nothing serious, you can signal silence.
Signal silence.
When you've dealt with the burnt toast or the smoke, whatever it is, you can hit reset, and that will
It'll reset
the whole panel. The alarm will come back if the smoke's still there or the pulse station's still down. So that's the main thing you guys are gonna worry about there. Because this is a long-term care center, you actually have two-stage system. So in stage one, that means that the pulse station went down, but you're not sure it's a full alarm, and so you'll have a single tone throughout, and it goes on a 5-minute timer. After that 5 minutes goes through, it'll automatically go into second stage, or if you use one of these keys on the pulse station, and I'll show that as well, it'll automatically go into second stage as soon as you do that. First stage is kind of to alert you. It's like, okay, someone said something's going on, or not sure if this is real. And then second stage is, okay, everyone evacuate, this is a real thing.
Yeah.
Now, if you'll follow me, I'm gonna simulate that with this. The alarms are gonna go off. So that's your first stage. So it's one tone, and this will go on for 5 minutes. If this goes on for 5 minutes, it automatically goes to the second stage. If you know it's a fire and someone has this key, and we have a lot of these keys to give you.
Open it up and let it go.
You don't even need to open it up. There's a key right there.
Just turn it.
Right in there. You turn it 90 degrees to the right. Everyone needs to evacuate now. Fire. Everyone's welcome to come back in. So we're going to acknowledge the panel. Panel stops screaming. Signal silence. That stops the horns. And we already reset that panel. So system reset. Now there's going to be a trouble. System initialization. That's going to be there for 30 seconds to maybe a minute. That's just it rebooting.
Yeah. Okay.
That's fine. Don't worry about that. If you don't like the beeping, you can hit acknowledge. And now, since we sent the alarm, the monitoring station, which will call out the fire department, they'll be sending trucks automatically. If you know it's a false alarm, give them a call immediately. Say, don't come, this is not someone.
Well, the old lodge, we get so many of them, they phone first, now where they send somebody before the truck shows up just to make sure.
Fair enough. Yeah, no.
Basil's a firefighter here too.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, this is with this monitoring, for the most part, they should be sending someone automatically. And so you'll have to give your monitoring company a call, as well as the fire department, saying it's not
good.
Everything's good, that we've dealt with it, or ignore the signal for however long you need it to be ignored. Question: if it's a trouble or at first stage, will the fire department come? First stage,
When does this phone? First stage, second stage.
I believe this system right now will phone on first stage because it sees it as an alarm. But it's what will signify you to check it out. Check out the area. It's like, is this a real fire? Because someone just pulled a pull station. Everyone has access to that, and could be a resident, could be a visitor, could be anything. But for the most part, also all your relays are set to activate on the first stage. So that is your door relays, that's your fans, your RTUs, all that fun stuff that will activate on first stage.
Okay.
As far as from my understanding of this program, for the most part, everything's going on first stage except the horn difference. The horn. Here, but we have some out in the hallway. So it will tell you what corridor and what hallway your detectors are in. If they are activated, you'll see these. These are your smoke detectors up here.
The green lights if they're good and red if they're active.
They will be blank lights. They'll blink green when they're normal condition. They will be a solid red color when they are an alarm.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's how you can determine which smoke detector or heat is
And
activated.
each one of those has an address.
Each one of those has a unique address, a
That
dial
you
on the
gotta
back.
set,
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so, and then they all have a name on the panel.
Yep.
Very similar, but just a lot more of them in here. Oh my God.
Yeah. Tell me about it. Yeah, it's,
I can't wait for one of them to screw up in Berlin to go up there and change it.
oh yeah, that's
Have to reach
That-
for the menu.
that's breaking in a lift and all that fun stuff. It's
Yeah, we got a lift, I guess.
yeah. You got some in the center area there.
Every room has one, except this room here. That round room, what do they call it? Dave?
Cauldron?
Spiritual room.
The spiritual room.
Oh,
The one up the
oh,
side.
the spiritual.
A majority of the rooms have them, or they have sprinkler protection. Actually, that's another thing I should show with your sprinklers, and they shouldn't be, but and they forget to put it back. We have these are all your control valves. You got some valves over in the generator building as well. If I were to turn this the right way, you won't get an alarm. What it's called is a supervisory. And basically that's saying, okay, something's wrong with the main feed shutoff. That's not normal. Because these are normally open. Someone closed your main feed. And same thing, you can hit acknowledge. Yeah, main feed shut off, and you can go find that, and it's like
Open it back up.
Someone closed this, and maybe you have someone working on your sprinklers, and they forget to open it up again. These are latching, so I'm gonna fix this real quick. Because these are latching devices, you have to fix it, and then you have to reset.
Yeah, they don't automatically.
Yeah, they don't automatically clear on their own. So same thing, system initialization.
Take a minute or two and then it'll reset.
Yep. Excuse me, guys.
Satellite.
And in each wing, you have you have a booster panel in each wing. So in the 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600. They're through the laundry room in the electrical room there.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep.
It's not easily accessible.
As long as someone lets us in there,
Yeah.
they're not too bad. There's also a
Have to
that's someone working on it.
make sure they know where they're at.
You also have a silent switch out in the hall. You only have the one silent switch right now, and the programming on it is not yet complete, but right now it silences the whole building. And
Where's that?
I will show
You're
you.
gonna show us that.
Yeah. And that'll just silence it.
Yep, it may take
But the alarm is still active.
The alarm is definitely still active. All it does is shut off the horns.
Shut off the
But you have it as a more accessible for your front of house receptionist or whoever.
What the hell with her? Tell her to keep her fingers off it.
But this will turn off the horns, but it won't stop the alarm. The alarm is still active, and so the fire department might be coming.
So if old people come and poke at it, it won't do nothing when the alarm's not going?
Yep, and you poke it now. It doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
Okay.
just when the alarm and then it'll.
Okay.
All it does is it's just that silence. That second button I showed you.
Yeah.
This is just
That's all that is.
That's all that is.
Okay.
So that's a basic rundown of your system. Do you have any questions? Or?
Last over 24 hours.
Yeah, okay, they're kind of charged up.
Yeah, they're all charged up and stuff like that. They're gonna charge through the whole thing. So what you guys have is two 26 amp hour batteries, and these guys power just this way.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So what they'll need to be done, and this should be taken as a note for you guys, is every 5 years they have to be replaced by code,
Okay.
because they're just 5-year term batteries. So that'll be these ones. So there's a booster
All the
panel in each
satellite ones.
wings, and then the 55 set that's in the actual main panel at that room.
Well, there's a set of batteries in that one too?
Yeah, just
Every
the
5
help
years?
for the computer head itself, the brain, I guess.
You guys remember that, because I'm gonna be gone by then.
Oh, don't worry. Every year that we do the inspection, we'll always have that. Otherwise, there isn't really anything else you need to be in here for.
So when you do the
Well, this doesn't show you
inspections,
where it is even.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah, so we do the inspections, we test the batteries every year to make sure that they're holding out. We say 5 years, but when you're typically up this far north, you guys tend to get a little bit more power outages than everywhere else. So typically the batteries will run down. They should last still a minimum of 3 years, but things do happen.
But
and
guys
then you
check
will
them.
change them if they're low?
We will, yes,
Okay.
absolutely. We do charge a little bit more than what it would cost you to grab them yourselves, but that being said, we always have them on us and
Yeah,
stuff like
that's
that, so.
good.
But we'll always ask permission first before we actually do it.
Yeah.
Just because we're kinda nice
You'll
like
ask
that.
Joe. Whoever's in charge.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll say yes.
I'll say yes.
Other than that,
Ask us.
You're my kind of girls.
Go ahead.
so other than that, with the fire panel, you guys have gone through that, like with the pull station, there's an Allen key that has to be used to reset it.
Yep.
If someone ends up pulling it. There's a piece of glass that's in there too
Yeah,
that'll
glass
break.
tubes, yeah.
Yeah, we have extra ones in that for you guys, same with
We got over a
the
million
keys
of
and
those
stuff.
things.
There's a second stage key, we're gonna ask that all your head nurses have them available or have them in a spot that they can put them in. It's in case that there's actual real fire that
They can
happens,
go,
they can just go, turn it, put it to evacuate, they can get everyone out. Otherwise, if you just pull the pull station, it has a 5-minute timer. And what ends up usually happening during that 5 minutes is everyone starts looking around, seeing if it's a real alarm or not. I don't know if you guys are gonna have a nurse call or whatever's going on with it, and you guys can make an announcement to say all clear, stuff like that. But it's gonna be one of those things where,
that's usually what they do now is
Yeah.
code red,
yeah,
and they'll go, they'll tell you where it is.
yeah. And obviously, I know you guys are gonna have a heck of a time trying to relay this back to them after we do this. So what we usually say is during the first inspection, if you wanna get all your nurse managers and supervisors and that together, we can go over it with them and we can do a training with them and do a real live thing so that they have an understanding of what needs to be done to go with their stuff as well. I know at this time it's kind of a little bit difficult because you don't know exactly who's going to be here yet.
It's in between, and
And as soon as it breaks up that laser between the mirrors and stuff like that, that's when it goes into alarm.
Okay.
So you can do it with moisture, you can do it with hot steamy showers, stuff like that. That's why we don't have any of the smoke detectors in the bathtub rooms. But in the rooms there is.
yeah.
So that's why, and it has to be, it's required there because you guys have people sleeping in
And then their showers are right in the room too, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
hopefully they shouldn't be too much of an issue. If they are, when we come back, we're coming back in a couple of weeks anyways to tidy up a couple of things just because they haven't finished the landscaping outside yet. And that we can always dial down those
Oh, yeah.
sensitivities and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
We can't make them too less sensitive than they are right now, but it will help a little bit. We do have a 30-second verification in there for smoke detectors. So it has to see smoke for about 30 seconds before it goes off.
Oh, yeah.
So that should help and deter a little bit. People burning smoke is definitely going to set it off, or burning toast. That's
Burning
probably the most
toast.
common one in these places.
It is, yeah.
So just be aware of that. The heat detectors, you guys shouldn't have to worry about those too much. They act just like a sprinkler head. They have a certain point that they'll go off at a certain temperature, 135 Fahrenheit. Or what ends up happening is if there's a 10-degree uprise in 60 seconds.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's quite a bit of extra heat in there.
Yeah.
That's why they have it in there,
Yeah.
just for flashes, just in
Yeah.
case. Because one of the biggest ones that we always worry about is like stuff like this. where
Summer.
if something arcs or stuff like that over time, then it can cause that to happen.
Mhm.
The sprinkler heads themselves, you're gonna have a couple of different ones. You're gonna have 135 Fahrenheit. Now it's not like the movies when they go off. Not all of them are gonna
Yeah,
go
the
off.
one goes
Just the
on,
one.
yeah.
But it's a lot of water in a short period of time. So it will put out a fire in 30 seconds, but in that 30 seconds, you'll have quite a bit of water. Especially because you guys have a fire pump, and that fire pump's gonna speed up and hammer more water out of your guys' reservoir that's there.
So where do we have our heat detectors? Like in the kitchen?
Heat detectors, yeah, there'll be ones in the kitchen, storage rooms, janitorial rooms, stuff like that. Just
They look like-
places where it's there's going to be a little bit of dust, but we're more worried about heat.
Mhm.
And
What
if
do
they're
they
not,
look like? Just like the other ones, or?
they look exactly the similar. The only thing that's different about them is they have a thermometer picture on them.
Oh, okay,
That's
so
it.
we know then, yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's
Good.
the only difference.
So don't put them in the other places.
No. But I mean, that's the thing. We'll tell you, we're gonna have our number on that panel and stuff like that. So if there's any questions or concerns at any point in time, we always have someone on call and we can walk you through that, no problem. That's just kind of one of the things that we're gonna make sure of. The other thing that we're gonna do is I left these guys here with you, what you have in your hand there, sir.
Oh, and the other papers?
Yes, so that's gonna be the how-to. I'm going to ask that you guys maybe photocopy and print those, maybe laminate them and keep them at each of the nurses' station.
Give
Just-
one to Tom.
It's just kind of a how-to.
Yep, how to do it.
Yeah, so you're gonna have like your first thing that you should always do if you have a fire alarm go off, go up to the panel, go acknowledge,
Acknowledge, yeah.
go signal silence. Don't do a reset yet. Check the area first. If it's a fire alarm, you can pull another pull station, it'll turn on the alarms again. Or if you have someone at the panel station there, you can just radio to them or call out. They can press and hold the drill button. That turns on the bells again. So that's another thing. If someone does signal silence bells, if another fire alarm does go off, it's going to turn those bells back on. Just so that you guys are aware. So if there is a fire or someone does miss something, and they go, it's all clear, and then all of a sudden it comes back on. Okay, you should really investigate and make sure of that stuff. The reason being is like with this whole stuff, the fire alarm is very redundant. There's going to be, you guys are going to have your BAS system or your building system. It's going to report things too. We're going to report things. We just make all the most noise and stuff like that. But it's going to be very redundant just in case one of those systems fails. And when the fire alarm does go off on any alarm, the way they have it right now is the doors are going to unlock.
Yep.
So that everyone can get out no problem, even with the Wonder Guard. Just to be sure. If we ever want to change that to making it second stage instead of first stage, and just in case you guys get some pesky guys that get a little bit too bright for their own good, and they start pulling pull stations to get out.
If you would
I'm not gonna lie to you, I have seen it before.
Oh yeah, we just had one the other day.
They're little miniature panels. They're just gonna mirror everything that's on the actual fire panel. So you can read and do that instead of having to go straight to the fire panel.
Oh really? Where the hell are those?
Those are going to be right by the exits here.
There'll be a yellow light come on there?
There'll be a yellow light if
No,
it's
I
a
don't
trouble.
show 'em in,
If it's a trouble or supervisory. Oh yeah, supervisories, the only time you're going to get supervisories are from three things. One, it's going to be sprinkler tampers if someone closes one.
Okay.
They have to have that in so that the fire department gets a notification for that. It's for insurance reasons. Two, the fire or generator run. Those come up as supervisories for you guys as well.
Okay.
The way I have those ones marked out though is they're tracking. So when you guys do your monthly tests on the generators and stuff like that, when it happens, it's going to come in a little trouble alarm. You just press acknowledge. But then when the test is over and done with the running or trouble or whatever is going on, it's going to clear off the panel for you guys automatically.
Probably weekly.
Weekly test, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's just one of those things where it's going to be a nuisance thing where the panel's going to beep about it. But instead of you guys have to do a reset every single time, it's just going to clear after you're done doing your test. That's going to be the same thing with the fire pump. It's going to come in. There's three things for the fire pump. There's going to be fire pump run, just like there's a generator run. There's going to be a fire pump trouble, just like there's a generator trouble. And then there's going to be a phase reversal. Now, I've never seen it actually happen, But I've heard stories where it ends up happening, someone makes a mistake and they just swap a phase, or what's the other option that ends up happening to cause a phase reversal?
That's about the only thing. Say SAS power is working
Yeah,
in the
Oh,
field
okay.
somewhere else and they accidentally switch something.
Okay.
then I'll tell you about the phase reversal. The reason why the phase reversal is such a huge thing is it ends up turning the pump the opposite direction. So instead of it pushing water,
It's sucking
it's
it
sucking it out.
Yeah,
That's
that
why we
wouldn't
want to
be
know
good.
about that.
Yeah, no kidding, eh?
So that's the reason why that's one on there. You'll probably never see it because usually guys are pretty good about it, but if you do, that's what it is. And if you guys can't remember this, because I don't expect you to remember this 15 minutes from being here. We always have a number on there, and if you guys give us a call about that, we'll know what's going on and stuff like that, so we'll be able to tell you what's going on.
Oh,
But other than that, there's going to be 3 common troubles that you guys are going to come across for the fire panel. One is going to be AC fail, it's power outage. The other one is going to be battery trouble.
that's in those.
Yeah, it'll just come up on here, tell you battery trouble, and it's going to tell you which batteries it is. If it's going to be the ones at the fire panel, or if it's going to be at the ones at either of the wings. It's smart enough to know which ones are having the issues. So just, it could be that, you know, you have a power outage that'll last for 8.5 hours. And in that time, you know, you hit the smoke detector 6 or 7 times.
Yeah.
It just drains the battery down, so you might get a low battery at some point. But don't be afraid of that. It's not the biggest of issues. It can be, once the batteries are replaced, it usually clears up. Now, the other option that you're gonna have is probably open or invalid reply. What that happens is when someone takes a horn off the wall, it's gonna
Okay.
go into open status. They're gonna say, hey, we don't see this horn anymore.
Same with the notifiers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So same with the smoke detectors and everything like that.
They'll tell
That
us
comes
where
in
it
as
is
a,
too?
yeah, that'll come in as an invalid reply going,
Okay.
hey, this one's not coming in. Now, we also have isolators that are in each of the booster rooms. Those isolators do. I know a lot of information I'm throwing at you guys.
That's okay, keep going. She's writing it down.
If I need to slow down, you let me know.
I shorthand.
The isolators are for different zones. So the hallways from the rooms is going to be isolated from each other.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So if, let's say you have a roof leak and there's water that drips on the contacts, what will happen is it causes a short because it goes across the 2 contacts. So instead of you guys losing every single detector in this whole building, you're only going to lose a certain zone.
What was it?
Yeah. So you only lose a little bit instead of all of it. That's what why those isolators are so important. Just for certain stuff like that, or you know, let's say you guys have to get new drywall in for some certain reason, and someone puts a screw into a wire, bang, you got a short there. That's why those isolators are there. Can be a bit of a pain in the fine in the time being, but at least you know the rest of the building's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
And then you guys can do your monitors of those certain areas with the staff that you have on, instead of having to get a security company and looking after it once every hour or whatever it is.
Oh, yeah.
So, other than that, you guys know about the horns. They got the 2 different stages. You got the one that's slow, steady, and you know the one that picks up this pace at second stage. Yeah, and that's the one that means get the heck out.
Yes, we haven't had one of them yet.
But what ends up happening is if someone acknowledges the panel and does a signal silence, that second stage is going to come in. So if there is a fire after you notice that, that's where those second stage keys come
Key
in.
and turn
Yeah.
it the way it goes.
So the way we're going to do it is we're going to leave a set of keys, the notifier ones. Those notifier keys will also open up these guys so that you acknowledge the signal silence. It might be a good idea to keep one at each of the stations, just so that the nurses can take a look and stuff like that. But we'll also put the second stage keys on those ones at the main fire panel.
Yep.
And then maybe we'll keep a second stage set on each of those ones that are out in the field. That way, just in case there is a real fire, they can go up to a pole station, turn that key switch.
and let her rip.
Yeah, so that they know there is a fire in that area. So when the fire alarm goes, those will release.
Oh, those are released too, yeah?
Yeah,
Oh,
are
that's
they
okay.
just get a metal gate with a magnet, or do you know yet?
I'm not 100% sure what it looks like, but
Okay.
it'd be similar. So.
Yeah, it's from what I've seen, the nearest one that I've come across, it's like this is, there's a long-term facility in Swift Current that has the same thing. And it's just a gate with a magnet side and that one.
Maglock.
Yeah.
She moves.
And what ends up happening sometimes is over time, it's a little bit shifting. So what might happen is you might let go and the door swings open.
And then we gotta make adjustments, say, to bring her back in line.
So what I will say is just maybe make sure that everyone knows, like, double check the gates and make sure that they lock up after a reset. Just because sometimes they'll be swung open, no one thinks of it, let somebody outside, and then they're 10 blocks away.
Oh, no, they'll just be over in the cemetery.
But other than that, it's pretty self-explanatory with this stuff. We're gonna
Yeah.
have exactly what zones there are. It's gonna tell you what house or which area it is, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600. But then it's gonna get into more detail of where it's gonna be. And then over time, if you guys find that you want a different label for a certain area or for something, just let us know and we can update that for you guys.
On this, it says drill. We push that if we wanna do a fire drill? Or what is
Yes,
that?
yes
Yes
and
and
no. You can use that for a fire drill, but what from what I've known from the Saskatchewan government is what they want you guys doing now is testing with a pole station.
Oh, really?
Yes,
We
one
never
pulse.
use- We never use a full station. We use them notifiers.
Yeah,
There's a circle on there, and then we got a U magnet, you just put it up there.
yeah, you can do that
That
too.
sets it off, and
Yeah.
and then it's different places.
Yeah, you
Where
can
it
use,
is, eh?
you can use the smoke. We usually say use the pole
Thank you.
station if you can. Just
Yeah.
because the easy way to do it is those things just open up with the Allen.
And just open it up. Boop.
Drop, you let them do their 5-10 minute drill, close it up, they can do a reset, no problem. That way you're not breaking glass or anything.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit easier than having to find that magnet every time. Depending on who's got it.
Yeah, it's in the maintenance room usually. But if they see us walking around with it, they know there's gonna be a fire drill, so.
Yeah, it's a little bit more inconspicuous as well as if
Yeah,
you're walking
well,
around and just use the Allen key.
Open one up and let her rip.
Yeah.
So do you have any doors which will start alarm, like fire activated doors?
No, none of your doors will activate an alarm.
No, like none of your doors when you're trying to go through are gonna activate the fire alarm itself. Just the pulse stations, smoke detectors, heat detectors, and water flows. But that being said, if you guys do have a fire alarm, we're gonna have doors that release and stuff like that. So your card locks are gonna be able to nullify it. They're gonna be
Yeah,
Yeah,
everything's
yeah.
wide open.
So what we do is we cut into the 120 power and we actually just cut the power off.
Oh, yeah.
So
The
then,
power and the magnet don't work, and
then you can go. It's kind of the same, it's the same premise as those blue pole stations. Oh, you guys haven't seen those
I've never
yet.
seen a blue one.
So, these blue ones, the reason why they're blue is they're meant for doors only.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so this isn't tied to our fire panel or anything like that. This is specifically just for this individual door. So our stuff will release this door and I believe this one. But just in case there's an issue or a relay malfunctions or something like that, this is also connected to the one.
Pull that.
Pull that,
That
this
door
door
open.
comes open, no worries.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
If you don't have a card swipe, you can't get open.
So if you want to try, do you mind if I just show? Okay. If you want to try, it doesn't work great. Oh, it does. Never mind.
Yeah, sorry. Well,
Yeah.
everybody puts them back where they're supposed to.
Exactly. That's always the problem, right? Is if you don't have them, and then you're looking, and then the store's open the whole time. But the good news is it only controls that exterior door, not this one. So if you're trying to keep people from
Get a
getting
little kick.
Yeah.
These are just smokes.
I
Well,
thought,
this one's a heat. It's a
I thought
combo.
something around the kitchen, they look the same, but they have a little thermometer. on.
Sorry, this one's here, right?
Yeah. So this one's actually heat and smoke. So it detects smoke detector. It detects smoke, but it's smoke's kind of a quick action because you always have smoke before you have a lot of heat. But it will go off at 135 as well. And then if you guys are ever doing the magnet test with these things, you go to where it says do not paint. It's kind of faint. It's actually just raised plastic right by one of the lights
Okay.
for these ones. They're a little bit different than the other notifier
Yeah,
ones.
okay.
just because, you know, we're updating, looking more sleek, you know.
Yeah.
Well, other than that, it's not too bad. The one thing I'm going to warn you guys about is putting tape on the smoke detectors, especially in the rooms. Actually, let's go to one of the rooms. Because you're gonna have some complaints. Oh, well, just make sure they're taking it off and that.
Yeah.
The other reason that happens is, you know, there's a bed underneath it, and someone's laying there looking up, and all they can see over time is this blinking light. That blinking light,
Oh,
so they get a little upset sometimes, or they go, they can't sleep
Okay.
because of it. But the reason that's blinking right now and stuff like that is it's because it's sending a signal back to the fire panel, and it's receiving one from the fire panel. So I constantly, I think it's every 3 milliseconds, it's sending a signal back and forth to the fire panel to make sure it's good. And that's why
Complain
it's-
more about the one on the Cisco box.
Yeah, mine's a little bit brighter.
It blinks a little steadier, a little more often,
What?
a little bigger.
Another thing to watch out for is because this one's so close to the shower, and because it's right beside the vent. Because you guys are by an open field and stuff like that, you might pick up a little bit of dust.
oh God, when they're combining, can you imagine?
It can happen.
Yeah.
I've seen
Okay.
it. There's a shopping center in Saskatoon that's right by the farm annex by the university. Those ones are really bad.
Yeah.
They've got rooftop units and it sucks in air to send in, and we have duct detectors that monitor that. And because when they're combining or when it's really dusty out before they get seeding in, it's really bad.
So those detectors, will that help to close something, or it's just?
It's one of the things you're gonna have to deal with for the time being. We'll have to figure it out if it's gonna be an issue for you guys at first. It might, I'm just letting you guys know. If it's not an issue, non-factor. If it is, we just increase the sensitivity on some of these.
I see.
So is this a combination detector, like both heat and smoke?
Yes, this one is.
So for in all the suites, all the rooms?
Yes, I believe they're all the same in all the rooms and stuff like that throughout. And then these little white caps that you see everywhere,
Sprinkler.
those are your sprinklers.
Oh, okay, so it'll pop them off with,
Yeah.
that's good.
You can take those out. It's called a concealer. So they just conceal the head, but they absorb heat as well and pass it along to where the head is, so it still works properly. Otherwise, you just have this hole in your ceiling tile.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a little bit
so-
of a-
So that's why that's in there. And then you got one right by the shower just in case. I will say this, sprinkler water is the worst thing in the world.
It's been sitting in there for maybe years.
Oh, stagnant.
We test it every year, we flow the water, we make it move, stuff like that, but it's still sitting in the steel pipe. So it's gonna take some of the black with it and stuff, and you're gonna get a little bit of rust in it too. So when the water usually comes out, it's usually black and it smells the absolute worst.
Okay.
So,
Dirty dishwater.
yeah, by like, times that by 10. So when it comes in here, because you guys have
Yeah.
pretty white walls, they'll stain them, just FYI. But the nice thing about these ones is even if someone hits that, like a trade or anything like that, they're not gonna set off the sprinkler.
Okay.
Where you have the ones that are more exposed,
Yeah.
up in the ceilings and stuff and that, if they break that glass, then
Yeah.
you gotta get to the area and you gotta shut off the valve to shut off the water. You guys know
Okay.
about that?
Well, we know where the main one was, right? Like
Yeah.
those ones, all those little valves,
Yeah, so
there's different zones?
there is different zones and there's a feed in. So you can shut off the feed in, but the problem with that is the other zones, because they're all full of water, they can still supply that other zone with water.
Oh.
It'll leak over.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
so it's just because there's so much water in between and there's so much space, because it's
Yeah.
all centralized in one spot for you guys. So what I will say is when it's a zone,
Turn off the zone.
turn off the zone instead of the overall thing.
And if you're panicky, turn off the whole damn thing.
Yeah. Another thing you should know about is when you have a sprinkler that goes off, the fire pump starts up and that gives you water as well. So your fire pump will run until you shut it off. You have to go out to the generator building, or to the outside building there. There's a little red stop button after you've shut off the water and that, you just press and hold it. Once you have it, once you have the zone shut off. But you have 2 fail safes on the on the sprinkler system. One is each zone has its own flow switch. And if that for some reason fails, there's a main flow switch at the fire pump that should come in. So anytime you have a flow alarm, you should always get 2 alarms. Yeah. And then that garage out there has a dry system in it. So what a dry system is that it's just a pipe with no water in it.
Just air.
Yeah, it's just air. And then when the head breaks, the air releases.
And the water comes.
And then, because all it is the air pressure is holding the clapper back. And then once the air releases and the clapper opens, water fills the pipe. The reason why we have it like that is because out in that room, it's gonna get cold. And we don't want the water freezing burst in the pipes.
The old place, they dry pipe.
Yeah.
Some of it up in the ceiling where it's not heated, above the insulation and everything.
Yeah. This stuff is nice because I think everything in here is all wet.
Wet?
Yeah, because you guys have enough insulation and everything like that, so it's all good on that day.
Yeah.
The only place that has the dry system is out there.
He's in the garage.
Yeah.
So where's the cistern?
In the garage.
It's in the garage or under the garage?
Right under it.
Yeah.
Was
Okay.
it 20,000 gallons or something?
Yeah.
20,000 liters?
Yeah, something like that.
Gallon.
When we come back, we're actually gonna be verifying a module that's gonna keep you guys update with the float on how much water you have in there. So if you hit a low water, it's gonna alarm at the fire panel and let you guys know. Plus, I think you guys are gonna monitor it as well from your main system building. Just that way you guys have a backup for a backup. Just so that you have it under for that. And then, but other than that, it shouldn't be too that bad. And then you guys will just have to get it filled every once in a while if you guys have a fire alarm or if you use it for
That's a
sprinklers. or
manual
whatever.
fill, is it?
I'm not exactly. Force the water into the
Pressure in
building.
there.
Yeah. And it's also the thing, if the phase reversal happens and it turns on, it spins the opposite direction.
Okay.
So, that's what this guy is. It's loud, it's obnoxious, it's fun. This is the dry system, right here. So this stuff goes out. So this is the test header. So it goes straight outside, so I'll have to test it every year, kind of thing. We try to schedule it in the summer months because it's way nicer to do that instead of freezing up pipes. So this is the whole dry system. It's got a pressure switches here. It's got a low air, and then after 10 psi it goes into alarm with another pressure switch. Now, because this is such a small dry system here, it fires quick. And if you're in here, it made me jump. But when they set it off, it goes bang, and it shakes. But other than that, it's not too big of a deal. The only problem is it has to be reset by a sprinkler guy.
Okay.
So if it ever does go off, they'll have to come here, drain it, then reset it. Yeah, exactly. But other than that, these are your shut-off valves. This is the flow switch, this is the main flow for the whole building. This is the one that I said will always go off when this guy comes on. Other than that, really not that big of a deal. It's got testing that needs to be done every once in a while. It's not fully on right now.
Testing is done by you guys?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
So we are a division of Vipond. We're the Alsask, so we deal with all electrical parts. But the people that deal with the water is Vipond. Then it's what is it called? It's a type of trade here, mandatory trade in Saskatchewan. So it has to be tested by a sprinkler certified company.
That's good.
Yeah. It used to be back in the day you'd have plumbers do it and stuff like that. They don't allow that anymore. So, just so you guys are aware. There's also an exterior 120 bell outside. I can't remember exactly where it is, but that bell will only ever go off when there's a flow switch. It's to let you guys know that there's water coming out. And it's kind of for the fire department to know that there's water.
So when that kicks in,
We get an alarm outside the building. Yeah. Oh, that's good.
That's in front of the building, like where that fire hoses are plugging, next to the entrance. Yeah.
Okay, basically, you want to ask about the filter?
I asked, I got.
Did they tell you?
Oh,
the-
that looks like
Eh?
I have one.
So the boys from there, yeah.
We also got a horn back there too.
Yeah.
It's real loud in here.
Holy moly, yeah.
It's a little room.
So maybe that we should have headphones outside there if we ever come in there, just in case.